Uh-oh. Something went wrong. Hold on. Here we go. Okay. Okay, so your I can statement for today is I can use the properties of parallel lines, diagonals, and triangles to investigate parallelograms. So remember, parallel lines was topic 2. All those rules apply. Diagonals, we're kind of learning that along the way for each shape. Triangles, that's your side, side angle, side, HL, all that stuff, okay? We are not going to do the critique and explain, so let's move on to example 1. It says, how do the lengths of opposite sides of a parallelogram compare to each other? Quadrilateral ABCD is a parallelogram. So here is a parallelogram. So first off, if you take a look, they have some information here. You have alternate interior angles are congruent, so you know angle 1 is congruent to angle 4, along with 2 being congruent with 3. Diagonal BD is a transversal of both of the parallel lines. So if I extended this, providing it will let me draw, that would be the transversal. BD would be congruent to itself by the reflexive property. And then therefore, because this is congruent with this, and this is congruent with that, and this is congruent to itself, these two triangles would be congruent by angle, side, angle. Okay, so the other information you need, you're going to want to write this down. Definition: a quadrilateral with both pairs of opposite sides parallel means that that is a parallelogram. Did anybody else not put their cell phone up? Because I'm taking attendance right now. I know one person you're charging, so you're fine. Put your phones up, please. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, the next thing we're going to need here is, so in this case, if we take a look by CPCTC, AD would be congruent to CB and AB would be congruent to CD. So the lengths of the opposite sides are congruent to each other. All right, so that's theorem 6-7. All right. So because of CPCTC, this is congruent with that. In fact, I'll label it. That might be easier for everybody. This would be congruent with this, and this would be congruent with that. So that's how we know the sides are parallel, are across from each other in a parallelogram, are congruent. All right, so let's take a look at example 1. It says, given parallelogram WXYZ, what is YZ? So in this case, this is actually pretty easy because remember, this is congruent with this is congruent with that, so that means YZ is just going to be 3.27, okay? Questions on example 1? Yes. Sure. Okay, so quadrilateral PQRS is a parallelogram. We're not, oh yeah, okay, we're good. It says use opposite sides of a parallelogram. So what is the value of X? So if we take a look at this, we have a choice. We can set these two equal to each other or these two equal to each other. It does not matter which one we choose because the two opposite sides are congruent. In this case, I chose QR and PS set equal to each other, which gives us a value of X equals 3. For part B, it says, was the length of each side. You would just substitute this in, or you can just substitute in here and here, and you'll know that the opposite sides are congruent. But in this case, if we did all of them, PQ would be 12. That would also mean that RS is also 12. QR would be 18, and PS would be 18. Okay? Questions on that one? All right, let's do the you try it. It says a 600-meter fence around City Park forms a parallelogram. The fence along, Chaco Road is twice as long as the fence along Grover Lane. What is the length of the fence along Jones Road? All right, so in this case, Jones Road, if we take a look, they're saying Chaco Road is twice as long as Grover Lane. So I'm going to label Grover Lane with X and Chaco Road with 2X. The whole thing is equal to 600 meters. Why don't you guys take a moment and solve for X and then also solve for Jones Road, okay?
All of this together is 600, so 600 should be 600.
And the fence is twice as long.
No, the fence is 600, or 600 total. All of this together is 600, so 6x
Exactly,
equals
it's twice
600.
as long.
No, that's included in the 600. X equals 100 because all that equals 6x. Because there's 2x, X, and X.
You know, Aiden,
Every single thing.
Aiden is not right. Aiden is not right.
What?
Oh my goodness. Aiden.
Yeah.
That, and that is all.
No, it's not. It's all combined.
Yeah, I know. That, all is 600.
No, which is twice?
It's 2x
Because it says it's twice as long as Grover Lane. Which means it's 2x.
If it's 600.
What do you mean?
It's common.
No, the perimeter of the whole thing is 600. This one right here is not 600. It's 2 times as much as
The
this
fence
one.
along. Oh, the fence along the road.
Aiden was already.
What? No, what is he actually?
Aiden, you make that lawyer.
Aiden, just recently, like minutes ago, he did not say this word.
All right. All right, somebody tell me what is X in this case? X equals what? Yes. 100. Very good. So in this case, Jones Road is also equal to 100 meters. Okay? Questions on that? All right, habits of mind. It says, if you know the perimeter of a parallelogram, what information would you need to know in order to determine the lengths of the sides? What do you need in order to determine the length of the side? Go ahead. The length of one side. Okay, so you're going to want to write that down. At least one side of a parallelogram. All right, I would like you guys to take out a piece of paper and write down this information. Okay, this is some important stuff that we're going to go over in a little bit of detail. My apologies, I will be right back. But start writing this down on a separate sheet of paper.
Oh, that doesn't even have.
Yes, it was pretty dumb.
Think about it.
You said 600. City Park is
The
one.
fence wall, she's
Did you run the
Wait, okay, his horse is.
Yeah,
Oh
Bro, come on, I was watching, there was like a second part, there was his face as he said that. Young Plus looked so scared when he said truly humble. I was like, Club, he meant something very important to him. He started to look a little bit confused. He says, humble under God. And you see him go, he's just tweaking out. He's stressed. I know he's like, oh, my lawyer ought to be gone.
He was like,
secondary.
Alright, using the lyrics as evidence.
no, they do that.
Aren't they not allowed to
They
do that?
should be allowed.
No, they did that for,
Yeah.
who's the guy who,
Smelly?
maybe the guy who's talking about how he killed his friend.
Yeah, that's right. They do that for I think it's super show because they're obviously playing.
Isn't that illegal?
They're not being for real.
Oh.
That's like well
The Corley did.
yeah, but that's like if I write something in a book, they're gonna use that against me as evidence. Like it's the same with the song.
So what did he say to himself?
But like that doesn't instantly
Wait, we
mean
have to
serious.
Okay, tolerance is the ability to
Exactly.
survive
Yeah,
and
if I make a
resilience
song
is
that
the ability to
well,
recover.
it doesn't mean that doesn't mean they're going.
Yeah, and if I'm not
Apparently,
they're like
his
to
record
get
label
like the same read. I love your
Do we gotta do that?
was actually like super big crime
Okay,
organization.
mutualism both benefits of like mutual. Cancel that. Parasitism. That's bad. One is gay and one.
Bro, this is the second time.
One is good. Fundamentalism. One is gay and one is it's fine. Okay, and then that's what I'm remembering now.
These ideals true to his heart.
It's not on anything. That's all this stuff is on. If it's on like biodiversity or something. Oh, it is very big. It is, yes. Because remember, we learned biodiversity before break.
I've thought that many times.
And then,
Even if
wherever this works, though, then you just treat like yesterday.
Oh, so biodiversity is like it's a very
yeah, but I do it that's like stronger than
Like,
it's
only for you.
I just hold it.
a very variety of habitats communities because it's like
Yeah.
this is like the things that live in it. So like
No. I put on a little glove, right? And I punch it, and then it has like no, not the atomic bomb. No, not atomic bomb. It's like
You put one person on the whole side.
diversity is just biodiversity is everything. Ecosystem is the highest. Species is just but like the number of species and genetic is I don't know. So wait, I'm just gonna assume if it asks if it's like genetic diversity, if it says the different forms of genetic, it'll say
Okay, let's take a look at example 3. Now that you have this, you should have this copy down by now, I hope. Oh, for crying out loud. Okay. So it says you can use what you know about angle relationships formed when parallel lines are cut by a transversal. So remember, if you have a parallelogram, you have two sets of parallel lines. Okay? All right, so in this case, if we look at 1 and 2, we would know that these two would be supplementary to each other because they're same side interior angles. Okay? So in this case, consecutive angles 1 and 2 are supplementary. So that is very similar to trapezoids because of those parallel lines. Okay? So that's something you're going to want to write down. Consecutive angles, angle 1 and angle 2 are supplementary. Is anybody still writing this down? Okay. So part B, we're still using the same picture. How are opposite angles in a parallelogram related? All right, so in this case, these are same side interiors, so they're supplementary. The opposite angles end up being congruent, yeah. So in this case, is what you're going to want to write down. Angle 1 and 3, opposite angles and of a parallelogram are in fact congruent. Yes?
So I would, so to like prove it, I would say like angle 1 and angle 3 are congruent because opposite angles of the
Yeah, so give an opposite angle. You would have, okay, in order to do that, you would first have to state this is a parallelogram. So then you know by that rule, it says if a parallelogram, then opposite angle is congruent. Does that make sense? Now, if you're trying to prove that it is a parallelogram, you got to flip-flop that process. You would have to prove that 1 and 3 are congruent in order to state, hey, these lines are parallel, these are congruent, this has to be a parallelogram. It'd be multiple steps. It wouldn't just be one step. Does that make sense? So it says, if blah, 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 parallel lines, then parallelogram. Or if opposite angles congruent, then parallelogram. Does that make sense? That's, yeah, if you're given opposite angles, then you'd probably have to prove maybe the line's parallel or something like that. You got to have at least one thing to prove a parallelogram. Does that make sense? Okay. Good question. Any other questions? Okay, so hopefully I have this written down. Let's take a look at our workbook. Given parallelogram ABCD, what are the measure of angle A and the measure of angle C? All right, so this shouldn't be too bad. Angle A is going to be what? Who could tell me? Should just be 180 minus 114. What is it? 66. All right, and there's angle, and then because that's 66, angle C has to be 66 as well because it's congruent. What's angle B? 114. Okay, that's why I kind of had you guys write that one down because the parallel lines are what really explains it. All right, any questions on that? All right, let's move on to the try it 4 in our workbook. All right, so we're going to now find some of this stuff. So use the parallelogram shown. We have A plus 5 for H, A minus 5 for G. They're asking what is the value of A. The setup for this is going to be that A plus 5 plus 8A minus 5 equals 180. Those are supplementary. You guys tell me, what does A equal? While I try to figure out what's going on, we realize because something is wrong.
Okay. 8A plus A plus 5 minus 1 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8A. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. How do you know Ryan said that? Yes, and I got really angry because she said it very clear. It's like I was freaking out. She had her little like Eddie Funko Pop. At first, I was excited myself. Yeah, no. Is this gonna get like yo? Yeah. Is this nice? Which one? Wow. We take it like
Okay, what do we get for A? Someone tell me. Go ahead. 20. Nice job. Whoops. All right, so that would mean that measure of angle G, H, J, and K would be 155 degrees for G and J, and H and K would be 25 degrees. Questions on that one? Alrighty, let's move on. All right, so theorem 610, if a quadrilateral is a parallelogram, then its diagonals bisect each other. That is very important. There's a lot of rules to parallelograms, guys, just FYI. All right, so that's why we're kind of trying to take this slow as possible. All right, so try 5. Use parallelogram RSTU with SU as 35 degrees. So the entire thing, 35 degrees, or not 35 degrees, just 35. And KT, just this small part right here, is 19. Okay, so what is SK and what is RT? Go ahead. Good job. And how about RT? 38. So these split, divide that one by 2, multiply that one by 2. All right. All right, let's take a look at example 6 in our workbook. Given parallelogram GHJK, if PK equals 4 and HK equals 2/3 GJ, what is GP? Okay, so PK right here, this small area, is 4. HK, so the entire thing is 2/3 GJ. All right, do we know GJ? No. So that's going to be my variable. That's going to be my X. Okay? But when I solve for this, okay, we know that HK in general is equal to 8. So I'm going to set this up as 8 equals 2/3 X. I am then going to multiply both sides by 3/2. That gives me X is equal to 12. So what is GJ? GJ is 12. What's GP going to be? 6. Questions on that? All right, guys, real quick, I want to talk about the habits on mind on 144 and 145. It says under what, this is important information, so you guys are going to want to write this down, okay? It says under what conditions can a pair of consecutive angles in a parallelogram be congruent? What do you guys think? Go ahead. When it's a rectangle or they're all 90-degree angles. Yeah, you would have to have a 90-degree angle there. All angles would be right angles. That's important information to know. The next habit of mind. On page 145, it says, how can you tell which diagonal of a parallelogram has the greater length? What do you guys think? Go ahead. Yeah, the longer diagonals connect the vertices with the smaller angles. So that's how you know which one's longer. All right, questions on this? Anything? We do. Savis was giving me some issues. Oh, FYI, I forgot to mention this. So tomorrow when you get your quiz, this is really important. Because I know some people, I'm not saying everybody's having problems, but some people are having issues with hitting the submit button. There is a way for me to view your work still, but what we are going to do is you were going to have to do this anyway, so I can give you at least partial points back. I am going to have you guys do your work on paper and turn it into me on Monday. This acts as kind of a backup too, in case you don't have that submit button. We did contact Savis. Is it Savis? I can't remember. Savas. All right. Savas. I hate it. Anyway, We did contact them, and they are working on the issue. Okay, because we said it's only and it's not just you guys; it's all geometry classes that are using it and all algebra classes that are using it. So there's something wrong with the actual system. Okay, and it's happening randomly. We don't know why. But if you can't hit the submit button, I don't want you guys to obviously have your grade delayed still. So we are definitely doing that paper. It will act as partial credit to, in case you get something wrong. So you guys will hand that. I'm going to give you a sheet specifically. There's 17 total questions, but work for 1, work for 2, okay, and so on. And then you will just hand me that packet on Monday. Sound good? Okay. All right, that's it. Those who are watching at home, have a great day.